All right, Canva licensing 2022. I'm ready. Are you ready? I know you're ready. I'm going to provide you with a little 2022 update on what you can and can't do on Canva. That is, according to the terms of its most recent license agreement. In other words, we're going to talk about what you can and can't do with the free and the pro content that you find on Canva. Stick around till the end and I'll tell you the one overarching rule that you have to keep in mind when you're creating content on Canva. I'm Maria Spear-Allis, lawyer for content creators and online brands, and this is the Spear IP Show. So what does Canva's license agreement cover? It applies to photos, icons, illustration, video, audio, fonts, and it applies to templates. It applies to pro music too, but that's its own little thing. The first thing you must do is hover your cursor or arrow over the content itself and click the little info icon in the toolbar like this. Go over to the item. For this item, we can see that it's free content. Click on the ellipse or the little dot. You'll see the I and click it. Then you'll see a breakdown of what you can and can't do. What license applies to free content? Well, first, in that process that you just saw, if you click and find out that it comes from Pixabay or another stock photo site, that site's license agreement will apply. So forget about Canva's license. You need to go to Pixabay or whatever stock photo site's website and look at what license applies to that photo. If in that process with the ellipse and the I and all of that, the content is labeled as Creative Commons 0 or another Creative Commons license, then that Creative Commons 0 license applies or whatever Creative Commons license applies, and you can Google those. Things that you can only do with free content, not pro, free. You can use it in more than one design without having to get an additional license. You can download free content on a standalone basis. That means you can just slap it on a blank document and download it. You don't have to add any kind of value or anything else to it. Don't have to change it up. You can use it on websites and merchandise and projects and things for sale to others. And you can use it in templates for sale. So maybe you create Canva social media templates or website templates for sale, for example. Now let's talk about the things you can do with free and pro content. Well, what's pro content? You have access to pro content if you have a subscription or if you have a free account but you purchase that individual pro item. Now, this is the third Canva video that I've done, and I have gotten a lot of very, very specific questions on what you can and can't do with Canva, from board games to book covers and everything in between. So I am literally going to lay out for you the things that you can do with all content on Canva, except for pro music, that's different. You can do or make these things: invitations, advertising and promotional projects, including printed materials, product packaging, presentations, film and video presentations, commercials, catalogs, brochures, greeting cards and postcards for promotion and or resale without any reproduction quantity limit, school or university projects, social media posts or profile image, decorative background on a personal computer or mobile device, design templates solely for use on Canva, entertainment applications like books and book covers, magazines, newspapers, editorials, newsletters and video, broadcast and theatrical presentations of unlimited prints, online or electronic publications, including web pages, blogs, ebooks, and videos. In the case of pro content, there are size limitations unless you're using the dedicated Canva website publish endpoint or using a Canva hosted and embedded design. So remember those size limitations if you're using pro content. And any other uses approved in writing by Canva. So hit them up if you have any questions, you never know. Canva for education. Now that has its own special permissions, but know that this only applies to non-commercial education. So education in the truest sense when you think of a public school, for example. So your course that you're selling probably doesn't fall under this umbrella, the Canva for education umbrella. Here we go. Here are the things you cannot do on Canva as of April 2022. Use the content outside of the permissions that we just talked about without approval from Canva. Use something designated as editorial use only unless it's relating to newsworthy events, and specifically says you can't use this type of content in sponsored posts. They point out a specific credit that you have to use if you are using it for editorial purposes. So a lot to remember there in terms of editorial use only. You can't remove copyright or trademark notices present on any content. You can't use content on a standalone basis, that means, by itself, in connection with a platform that allows you to sell or distribute on-demand products like postcards, mugs, t-shirts. Not completely clear what this means, but I take it to mean that you can't use content on its own without changes or without being compiled with other elements to sell on-demand products. You can't use content in a way that's obscene, immoral, infringing, defamatory, or libelous. You can't use photos, and this is an interesting one. Can't use photos in a way that places the person in the image in a, quote, bad light, or insinuates that the person engages in any immoral or illegal activity, suffers from a physical or mental issue or condition, and they specifically call out adult videos or something similar. Ads for tobacco, ads for nightclubs, escort, dating or similar services, political endorsements, ads for healthcare, herbal or medical products, also very interesting. So you can't use photos that you find on Canva in these ways. You can't use content in a way that competes with Canva's business. You can't use it in a way that allows for the content to be extracted or able to reproduce as an electronic file. You can't reverse engineer any source code. You can't use or display content in a way that allows it to be downloaded or exported via peer-to-peer or similar. And another interesting one, can't use or display content in a manner that gives the impression that the content was created by you or a person other than the copyright holder of the content, including claiming ownership of or exclusive rights to the content. Now here comes a big one that makes some people mad and is very confusing because Canva has logo templates, and why would they have logo templates if you can't create trademarks on Canva? But guess what? You can't trademark designs with any Canva media, period. It's in the terms of use. Don't shoot the messenger. Now this excludes fonts. You can use fonts that you found on Canva to create a logo or a trademark. The last rule of thumb is that if you create a design on Canva using free content and pro content, the more strict license, and that would be the pro license, dictates what you can do with that final design. So that is the overarching rule for you to remember when you're creating designs on Canva. I hope that all of this helps and that it's detailed enough to answer all of your questions about what you can and can't do on Canva. And remember, when in doubt, either look on each individual item or contact Canva yourself to find out more info. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Head to spear-ip.com/quiz to take my quick 6-question quiz on finding out the legal blind spot that's leaving your business exposed. It'll take you through those quick 6 questions and give you that legal blind spot where your business is most vulnerable, and it'll tell you how to fix it. Again, that's spear-ip.com/quiz.